Good morning or afternoon. Let's start the sky. As I said, I'm going to use a knife. A painting knife, not a switchblade. The colors that I use in the sky will be ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, raw umber, yellow ochre, titanium white, likely a little bit of alizarin crimson. Going to keep it in general fairly dark, except for this area. It'll be fairly dramatic sky. Often in my skies, make a lot of shorter, choppy movements with the knife. I'm going to try to get a little more flow in the sky this time. Here we go. I might need to apply shorter strokes, use shorter strokes just to apply the paint, but after that I will more than likely run through them with the knife to take out that choppy effect. I'm going to lay in the darks first. Or the majority of the dark, I should say. Okay. I'm doing very little mixing on the palette. Because when it gets onto the canvas, and I keep running my knife through it, every time it mixes a little bit more. Sorry, minor interruption there. Light. I'm going to have to reconfigure my stance here, because if I can, the way my studio is set up, if I paint without seeing glare, it's a bad angle for the camera while I'm standing up. So for me not to see glare, I have to stand like so. And then you can't see what's going on. I'm just going to change things a minute. Okay. I think that's going to work better. At least I can see something now. I do need to see something. So far it's been ultramarine blue and raw umber. I'm going to put in a little bit of alizarin crimson now. No, that's too much red. In this case, although I'm putting the paint on pretty coarsely and pretty quickly with a knife, once it's pretty much covered, then I'm going to go in and finesse it. So in a sense, I'm going to be, well, smearing my knife through some of the paint in a very controlled way to try to clean it up a little bit and organize it a little bit. Mainly I'm just getting my colors in place right now. It's kind of a nice thing about painting with a knife. You're able to put your colors on so liberally, quickly. At least to begin with. Well, depending on your style of painting, I guess you can get real crazy too. I'm more of a tame painter. Bit of yellow ochre in this area. getting lighter with, whoops, that's a bit strong, raw umber, with some dregs of what's left on my palette from these other colors. That's a bit red. I don't mind a little bit of it in the sky, but I think, as I said from the beginning, I would, in general, I'm going to stick to a fairly bluish theme. So if I'm going to get some reds in here, I think I'm going to save it for the rocky area. Stick with more green and blues in the sky and the distance. Tilted the easel there, can you still see? Okay, I'll move it back. I just need to see over here again. On a sunny morning especially, I get a lot of glare. And glare, as we all know, is a bit of an enemy for a painter. Bit of cobalt blue in these little slashes. Back to ultramarine and raw umber. Cutting in along the horizon here. Not being, again, too worried about the mess that I'm making. I'm actually going to scrape that brownish stuff out of there. This little spot here was raw umber, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. It just, I'm not going to obliterate it, I just want to leave hints of it behind rather than sort of a large area of it. Tilt this out again a little bit. Oh, we're not in there. Yeah. Okay. I sometimes, when I've painted with a knife, as I do with the brush, I've tried to keep a lot of my lines in place, like my outlining. And you know, I find that usually when you're using a knife, you have to be so careful and so exact if you're going to do that, that you get into this mode, this mental mode of being very, very fussy. Sometimes that can really work against you. I mean, in general, I prefer a looser painting, so, and I'm not always that good at it, as you know. In this case, I don't have to worry too much about it. If I overlap right now, because it's a knife, I can lay wet paint over wet paint and not have to suck off excess paint with you know, a piece of toilet paper in it. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. It's a little more fun this way. Things flow a little better this way. And I'm hoping that this sky will have a bit of the appearance of having been thrown on there very quickly. The appearance of it, I still have to paint it in a fairly controlled manner, as you can see. Okay. Knock that red down a notch. That's a cleaner, warmer pink. We'll leave that just for the moment. Again, when I'm done, I do not think there'll be much of it there. It'll just be a hint of something. Nothing like a good variety of color in the painting to keep it rich. closing in on our bright spot now. All right. So you see, the sky is covered. That's all it is. There are all kinds of little areas, you know, very, very small areas where there's not paint coverage over the tint. And again, I like tinting a canvas that way because it's okay. If you've washed it in already, then you've got sort of these unifying bits of tint showing through the knife work, and you don't have to worry about back and forth trying to make sure that you've filled in the texture of the whole canvas, because when you do that, you're always mixing your paint and your painting will die. It starts to lose its richness. Anyway, it's there. Now I'm going to begin some finessing, but I'm going to sit and have a think about it first, so I'm just going to get back to you in a minute. So what I'm going to do next is, the sky's covered, but now it needs to be tailored, finessed, etc. As I said, I need to make a more accurate horizon line here, and I need to cut more accurately into this tree line. So what I do typically in a case like that, because you know where I've started, I start my knife stroke here and work my way up. There's always, or usually, a bit of a ridge along these hard edges, a ridge of paint. So later when I want to go in and paint into it or paint against it, I'll have another ridge. So what I do is I go along like this, clean my knife, that, clean my knife, that, clean my knife, clean my knife. So all that's left is a very thin layer of pigment along that edge. Just makes it easier to work with later. If I lose a little bit of pigment here and there, or a little bit of highlighting, not worried. I can put it back in if I want to, if I think it's going to look well, look good. You see what I mean, though? You know, I'm not too worried about every little bit of paint that I have adjacent to my shapes, because I can reapply them. Because I'm using the knife, I can reapply them quite cleanly. So because this next bit, I need to stand up, sit down, I need to be over here in front of the camera a lot, and over here, and stopping and starting, I'm just going to get back to you once I've got my sky and my horizon line cleaned up to the point that I'm happy. And then I'll begin to work on these distant hills. So there's the sky in place. It's been toned down quite a bit, reorganized considerably in other ways. Started dark, The only dark of the dark that I've left is right along here. Because my focal area is here, this is the most intense. We have the drama of the extreme light against the extreme dark. And I'm going to have a fairly high chroma, but yeah, fairly intense bluish green in this area. This sliver of hillside will be dark, and then we're going to start to catch light on the one that's on the next level closer. Then we'll go back to dark again. So that's it. The tree shapes are more accurate than were what I was after. And I am ready to begin the next plane closer to us. Probably work on that tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please hit like if you liked it. And other than that, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good afternoon.